If you're an investor, your current portfolio should have some overweight exposure into financials because the financial sector is one of the leading sectors in the S&P 500 at the present time. But it's not the same old sector that your grandfather invested in. Times have changed, and that's a phenomenon of free capitalism in the US market. Fintech, financial technology companies are nipping at the heels of companies like JP Morgan. My name's Don Creech.
And I'm Perry Sykes, and welcome to the Investor Resources Podcast.
And in a recent interview, JP Morgan said, yeah, these fintech companies are really nipping at our heels. I'm not sure what it's all about. Well, my goodness, Jamie Dimon, head of JP Morgan, the biggest bank in the world, and he doesn't know what fintech is all about? That seems hard to believe. But yet he says that's the way things are. So should you own JP Morgan or not?
Well, the gist of it is you pretty much have to. JP Morgan is it. JP Morgan is hands down the largest both private and commercial bank in America and in the world. It's the largest U.S. bank by over $1 trillion in assets. They're $1 trillion larger, and so they're larger than the next three largest banks combined. They are, you want to talk about the big kid on the block, they're it. And like you said, even at that, Jamie Dimon said, these fintech guys, they're coming and they're changing things, and this stable coin thing, they really want to get that going. They really want to bring it on. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what they're doing, but I recognize these are smart people. These are smart people, and they're going to do smart things. So we've got to watch them. We've got to see what's going on. And it sounds like a sea change is getting ready to happen. And even at JP Morgan, they're a little afraid to recognize that everything they do may soon be changing. And they're a little reluctant. And of course, that's because they're so successful at what they do right now. They don't want to see things change too much, or at least they want to control that change. They don't want things just to roll through because somebody else has a better idea. And that tends to be what's going on these days with in fintech. Somebody gets a better idea and it just steamrolls the existing technologies and the existing organizations that run those technologies.
Well, you caused two thoughts to flash through my mind, one of which is this transition change that's going on. And in some ways, I think there's an analogy between the new fintech startups, and some of which have some real size to them. They've been very successful in raising money and raising their capital base. But I go back to the 70s when Toyota and Honda started importing small cars. I remember the Honda was referred to facetiously as a roller skate on wheels.
There you
go. It just looked like a big roller skate. And GM and Ford, they were poo-pooing and saying nobody's ever going to buy one of those things. Well, look where they are now. Yeah. The companies that were never going to dominate the auto business are dominant. In fact, the biggest automobile manufacturer now is Chinese. That's BYD. I mean, and that's not a very old company. It's only a few years old, and yet they're creating more cars than anybody else in the world. And a lot of those are EVs, and they're outproducing Tesla, who is a larger, more experienced company with EV production, but BYD is nipping at their heels. But in the fintech business, you probably don't think of these as fintech companies, but some of you are probably doing business with them. Think of Shopify or PayPal. I mean, you're on eBay or something, you're going to pay for something, you can use a credit card or you can use PayPal. It's probably easier to get your money back from PayPal if you don't like what you bought than it is to go through your credit card company. Well, Jamie Dimon doesn't like that kind of business because you're taking money away from their transaction base of their credit card use. But sometimes it's simply the financing issue for the company like Affirm. Affirm is providing financing in areas that compete with the local bank. They don't like that. So they are all trying to figure out what do we do with the stablecoin stuff, because stablecoin now with new legislation is going to become, and regulation is going to be easier for the banks and other companies to say, we'll do business with you. Got a stablecoin, you have tokens, you can make payments with those. We'll accept
Oh,
that. There's a
yep.
few companies that are actually accepting Bitcoin as payment, though that has a lot different risk issue because they accept payment on that. And then Bitcoin is known for volatility. It
Just a
could be
bit.
worth a whole lot less in the days to come. And so,
True.
did you actually make a fair exchange? But stablecoin issue is designed to eliminate that downside risk. I mean, you've got a different issue in terms of pricing because it's based on dollars and the dollar backs it. So theoretically, that will bring some stability there. Um,
And
Robin
it's going to
Hood,
allow it to move directly into the banking industry. A lot of this other, I mean, Bitcoin has never made inroads into banking. There are a lot of uh, corporations now that need or that are expected to have some Bitcoin on their balance sheet. But JP Morgan doesn't really care about Bitcoin. It doesn't matter. But now, like Jamie Dimon is recognizing, once these fintech guys get in here with this stablecoin stuff and they produce these payment structures and people are embracing them, it doesn't matter that it didn't start in a bank. Once the customer base embraces that technology, as a bank, you're going to have two options: embrace it yourself and move with it, or get bypassed. You're just going to get leapfrogged, and all of a sudden your standing is going to disappear. And so they're very concerned about it. They're very much watching what's going to happen because they don't want to get caught flat-footed either. And they understand this is coming. They're still not understanding exactly what it is, but they're Jamie Dimon probably has people watching it. He's probably not doing it, but he's got people watching that entire group to say, okay, if this stablecoin thing is going to become a thing, we've got to be a part of it because we're huge and we can't let a significant piece of commerce go by us as a bank. And he's correct. They're going to have to get their toe in the water here and begin to figure out how to do that. And that's very hard sometimes, especially for old line businesses like banking, to say, okay, there's going to be a massive change here, and we're going to try to regulate it and we're going to try to profit from it, but we're really not sure how to do it. That's a very uncomfortable place for them to be when the fintech guys are much smaller. They're much nimbler to be able to make some moves, and they're much more willing to say, we don't care what has come before. Here's what we're going to do now. And that's why you need to be looking at where things are headed just as much as where they are. JP Morgan is hands down, the largest bank out there right now. But you need to watch growing technologies because these days new technology adoption happens very quickly, and that can change the very fundamental nature of what a business means. What does a bank mean? That can change very quickly, and JP Morgan at least understands that.
well, Jamie Dimon understands that, but I'm not sure he's not going to make the same mistake that IBM made when Microsoft DOS was introduced to the marketplace by Bill Gates.
Right, right.
Their first reaction was, "Who needs a computer on their desk?"
Let them have it.
Ah,
Who cares? Let them
yeah.
have it. Yeah.
and but the fact that what Bill Gates generated, which became Microsoft, created a great deal of competition for computer development. And so you had all sorts of small computers. You could go down to Radio Shack, which is now bankrupt, out of business, and buy parts to build your own computer. And
Yep.
that for techies, that was a thing to do. This is really cool. Look what you can do with this. And they could make things work. And out of that, we ended up with multiple companies. Another one which finally went out of business, Compaq. I had a Compaq computer years ago,
You bet.
but they're not around anymore. I mean, they probably got bought out, but I don't know by who off the top of my head. And the same problem that I mentioned a few minutes ago with the car manufacturers. Who would ever buy something that small?
Right.
Nobody wants to
Nobody
get
wants
in
that.
in a
Yeah.
roll in a rolling casket, basically. If you, in
Uh,
fact, I said that to myself. I mean, I like big cars. I still do. We've had some smaller cars, which my wife liked, but I like my Suburban, which I, which on a little bit of a rabbit hole here, is now 20 years old, and I found out that it qualifies as a collectible. And if I
yeah,
change my
nice.
plate, I don't have to pay license fees every year
There
anymore.
we go.
so,
There we
so what
go.
a deal! You hang around long enough, and it eventually works. But I do think there's risk for Jamie Dimon, and as these other younger companies are coming up, it's kind of like Microsoft nipping at the heels of Big Blue, and they almost knocked them off their pedestal entirely, and it took them
Right.
years to recover because they failed to acknowledge the change that was going on in the industry. It's a problem that is being addressed in the brokerage business because of the competition that Robinhood has brought to the place.
Sure.
Robinhood has just accelerated low cost and free trading. Now, Robinhood gets paid, they make a lot of money, but it's behind the scenes where people don't see direct charges. That's okay, it's legal. And all the other companies that are providing free access to trading are getting paid on your trades. It's just
Right.
that they're getting paid indirectly where you don't see it on your brokerage statement. But it's the competition that's been driving prices down, and it's that same competition that Jamie Dimon is trying to figure out what's this really mean for our highly successful business. And
Correct.
one of the other changes been forced on him, partly by fintech, but in more so aggravated by COVID. When COVID forced people to work from home, and the restriction was finally lifted, Jamie Dimon said, "Well, you guys got to start coming back to work at the office." That he got a lot of pushback. Okay, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, and recently he said, "You got to come in the office." And as we were talking about this before we started recording, Perry, you made some
Yeah.
cogent comments that the purpose of that is, in his words, to maintain corporate culture.
Right.
But if you think about the next generation coming up, they're not used to corporate culture. They went to school in large part online, and what
Correct.
they know is what they know, and what they're going to do is what they can do. But you covered another podcast that we did recently on the impact of AI on employment.
Sure.
Was that on?
You were just talking about Shopify, and Shopify, their employment strategy is AI first. If they need a new employee, whoever wants to bring that new person on board, they have to prove before they can hire somebody that AI can't do the job. It's
That's really significant. If AI can
yeah,
do the job, we're not going to hire anybody.
and AI does not care about culture. So James backwards at a bygone era and saying, well, the J.P. Morgan Chase people are going to be different. We've got a different way to look at things, and it's like what you don't understand is how different it already is, and that it's got nothing to do with the name on the building you're sitting in. The technology that's coming up is going to completely revolutionize what you're doing, and there is no protection in size. JP Morgan's massive, and it doesn't matter. It won't help you to continue an old process that gets leapfrogged technologically. The new technology people are going to make that change happen, and it's going to happen with you or without you. And it's going to happen way quicker than you think. And that can be a drawback for companies like banking that are very steeped in tradition and want to the status quo is their friend, they think, and it's not now that, like you said, the fintech guys are nipping at their heels. They're going to change things significantly, and precedent means nothing. They're going to change things quickly.
So if you want to start a new credit card business, that's a tough business because JP Morgan dominates that. And then you've got the other banks, and you're going to compete with major carriers like airlines and big companies.
Sure.
But if you want to start a fintech company like Shopify, if you can compete with Shopify, that's a software development issue. And maybe you can enhance what they do and raise money for it. That's easier competition. You can make those inroads faster.
Sure.
FinTech is going to make a change the way in which we pay bills and settle our banking accounts, our debt, our mortgage payments, whatever. It's already transitioned mostly
Yep.
to online payments anyway, but that whole process is going to be speeded up. Do not take for granted that you own the right sectors. You've got to pay attention for the developments that are coming, where the money is flowing. You own leaders, not laggards, in order to achieve your financial goals. If you want to talk to us, our contact information is on the screen, pops up right here. Subscribe to our podcast. Stay in touch and stay informed. Have a great day. Thanks for being with us today.